Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now Show, the voice of the DSO industry. Kim Larson and Bill Newman talk to industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. Visit groupdentistrynow.com for more DSO analysis, news, and events. Looking for a job or have a job to fill? Visit joindso.com. We hope you enjoy today's show.
Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Group Dentistry Now Show. I'm Bill Newman. As always, thanks everybody for watching us on YouTube or listening in on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you happen to find us. We appreciate the support and all the great 5-star ratings we're getting. We're over 100 and some odd podcasts at this point. So always amazed what we learn on each one of these podcasts. And the industry is just a lot of fun right now, just a lot of change going on, whether it's the consolidation in the industry or the technology that's coming into the space. So we've had a couple people on in years past from Kleer, and I'd love to catch up with Dan Crawford. This is the first time he's been on the podcast, but kind of find out where Kleer is now. Been in the industry for quite a while. They continue to advance the product and the platform that they offer to DSOs and emerging dental group practices. So first off, I'd like to just welcome Dan Crawford. He is the Enterprise Sales Manager for Kleer. Welcome, Dan.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Dan, would you mind? I know you've been you had another role or at Kleer prior to taking over the enterprise sales role, but talk a little bit about your background, why you got involved at Kleer, your roles at the organization. I think the audience would like to know that.
For sure. So I guess just to start, I certainly am not a dental person. I'm not a dentist. I didn't come from dental school or anything like that. My degree is actually in English literature that I got several years ago. And coming out of college, I thought I was going to be a teacher in the education space, but then I really kind of got a knack in the ear for the financial sector. So I worked for a financial brokerage for a few years, got a number of licenses, and then stepped into the sales realm there. And then found that it just wasn't quite where I wanted to be, but I knew I wanted to be in a dynamic space where I was selling or engaging potential customers and clients with some sort of really valuable, impactful product of some sort. And that's ultimately what led me to Kleer. I had, of course, some networking, some connections, some people that kind of got me to the company, but I landed at Kleer in July of 2019, stepping in as just a basic account executive working with independent dental practices. And over the last couple of years of really just fallen in love with the company and our value prop and the impact we bring to emerging and especially larger groups now in this space. And at this point now, those are the only potential clients that I work with, whether you've got 2 locations or over 100. So really happy to be in this spot and really, really excited for where we're going to be headed here.
Well, that's great. We're going to pick Dan's brain on what he's experiencing with his customer base, because Dan, most of our audience falls into that 2 to over 100 category, people that are scaling up or have gotten to the point where they need to start adding systems and processes to their practices that maybe they didn't have in place before. So sophistication level of the audience is great. Again, one thing I mentioned earlier is it just seems like trying to keep up with all the changes with technology and is difficult. And I know Kleer's made a lot of advancements. And I think one thing when you and I were talking before, we had lunch together with the Kleer team a little while back, and that you were geared more to solo practitioners and maybe smaller groups, but now it sounds like you've pretty much revved up and able to accommodate larger platforms as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, to your point, at least as far as we've been around at Kleer, the group space has never really been this dynamic, right? With all just the moving pieces, the acquisitions, different kinds of structures of groups coming in, DPOs now becoming more of a prominent thing as well, as opposed to your standard DSO. So obviously, we recognize that as a big opportunity for us, but also, a membership plan is as valuable for your single office practice as it is for, an operation that's got 300-400 providers. And we've really kind of shifted our product and our investment to really handle that sort of volume at this point, to really enable groups. We recognize that the membership plan is a big asset, but really only if you can scale it, right? As with anything. So that is one of the major things I think we'll probably touch on quite a bit today with Kleer, is that our product really is reaching the point where it's designed now to really help that group scale and get them the visibility that they really need to make sure the membership plan's working.
So one thing that was kind of interesting, we had a webinar with Kleer not too long ago, and we did some poll questions. And one of the questions was just, hey, do you even have a membership plan, right? And what my thought was, yeah, it's going to be 50% or the majority we're going to have. And what we found was that it was actually a minority. Now, they could have considered the in-house plans maybe that they have, not really a membership plan, right? So we didn't go to that kind of detail, but yeah, I'm just wondering, what you're experiencing there. And then we talked about how dynamic the industry is. One thing that's really dynamic, not just in this industry, but I think in this time we're in, is all the turnover that we see, right? So you've got a lot of turnover, whether it's clinical staff or office staff. So if somebody doesn't have a membership plan, and they're experiencing all this high turnover, this turmoil with staff, why even invest in a membership plan? Like, how do you do that if you've got these other things going on, and why?
Yeah. It's such a good question, because obviously these challenges really are universal. So, so many offices are just struggling to try and handle patient volume with how spread thin they are with the staff. So why in the world would I introduce anything new, much less a new concept like a membership plan, if I don't have one at the group level? And in our experience, the answer is actually really interesting. So I think one of the things that is unique about what we do at Kleer is that everything from our product investment to our approach with clients to how we kind of manage our client base after and help their teams execute, everything is done with metrics and data behind it, right? So this is all going to make sense. I'm going to circle back to this, but one of the things that's interesting is, especially as teams are spread so thin, while also dealing with a number of the typical challenges of a dental office, right? Dental insurance tends to not be the most cooperative entity to work with, right? Reimbursements are going in the wrong direction. It's just a huge time burden for the team to have to approve patients, get claims through, get reimbursement. And at the end of all that, you're still trying to see patients, right? And what we see in the group space a lot is that a lot of times groups are looking to grow, right? I want to grow, but I don't have the staff to do it. But I have all these insurances, so I need to get more patients in the chair because the insurance reimbursements are not going in the direction that I need them to, right? These are all things that happen everywhere. So the question being, why would I invest in a membership plan in general, but then also just given how the current state of the world is? Well, what we found with our data analytics that we've done, and we do this for independent practices and for group practices, is be able to pull your data and show you, okay, if you have a membership plan in your office, how is it actually performing for you? How does a membership patient compare to a cash patient or even a PPO patient, right? What we found is that your membership plan patients actually tend to behave just like your insured patients. So they're actually the most profitable in your business, right? Because it's a fee schedule that you set yourself. So why you don't want to invest in a membership plan right now is that suddenly a membership plan can enable you to get more for less, right? It's about building the right coverage foundation for your office. You no longer have to worry about, I have to get as many patients in the chair as possible because I'm still just grappling with insurance reimbursements. Now I can just try and get patients on membership plans, and I can just focus on the care and know that I'm going to collect everything on my own. So suddenly 5 patients on a membership plan are better than 15 patients on an insured plan, right? And that's just more time for the team and less of a need for you as a group owner to continue to try and go out and find new candidates, hire people, go through that process. So it really does enable you to kind of get more from less, I would say.
So you talked a little bit about insurance versus a membership plan. What about an in-house plan versus Kleer? What would be the differences there?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's definitely some synergy there between the two situations. And to your point from our last webinar and the poll questions, not a ton of the guests had membership plans before, but those who I work with now who did have their own plan they managed internally usually fall in one of 2 different buckets, right? Either I have a discernible problem that I'm looking to solve. I want better payments processing. I have no renewal infrastructure in place. My teams aren't bought in. They're in that bucket, or they have a membership plan and it really is just kind of there. They don't really know how many members they have, what's the impact, the teams aren't all aware of it. So it's really one of those two things. So we obviously didn't invent membership plans at Kleer, but we really do view ourselves as at the vanguard of having a successful membership plan. Because bringing your plan to Kleer may not necessarily be because, I just want to solve for something that's wrong, but always it's about, I want to elevate this membership plan to a point where it is truly impactful across my organization. My teams have the resources that they need rather to be successful. And then you have the software infrastructure behind it to scale, right? So much again is about measurable impact with us. And if you don't know how many members you have or what their production rates are or what your retention rate is, then you're probably missing the opportunity. So moving your plans to Kleer is not only going to automate all your basic stuff, right? Renewals, payments, things like that, but especially at a higher level, it's really going to show you what's the impact this is having on my business and how can I leverage it to improve in other areas. So that is a major, major reason why a lot of groups come to us now more than anything else, I would say. It's really that elevation of the plan.
Gotcha. So they already have something they created in-house, but maybe it's not functioning like they'd like it to, or as they scale up, it gets more difficult to manage, or you even mentioned the buy-in from the team.
For sure. And Bill, I'll just add to that too, really quick. I mean, a lot of times as well, groups will say, yeah, we'll give this a try and we'll see how this looks, because we don't ask a whole lot from our clients up front, to get this moving. So they'll try, we'll get it rolling and we'll see how it goes. But then in the process, the client starts to get a little more educated, right? Wow, I actually didn't know that we had this many uninsured patients, or I didn't know that I was getting this feedback from a regional manager who was saying, hey, look, we really need something over here. So it also kind of helps in that sense too, that even if you have a plan, maybe you don't know a lot about it, working with us really does kind of shed a lot of light on that opportunity, and we can really kind of help you maximize it.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. Talk to me a little bit about, we talked about some of the results anyway, as somebody moves over from either not having anything or kind of working with Kleer versus in-house. Any specific examples? I mean, I know you work with like emerging groups and some of the larger platforms out there, the things that you're seeing from maybe, before to working with you, and that would be great, because again, I think got a couple different buckets here in the audience. You've got 2 to 3 locations, doctor owned and led, and then you've got some of the larger platforms that, that have more substantial support teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And again, everything is going to go back to the data with us. But what's been really great is that we were able to figure out what impact were we actually having. That first started a couple of years ago. So to your question, what we did back in 2019 was we engaged a number of our different clients. We did some independent offices. We did some smaller emerging groups, all kind of around the country. And we had the ability at that point to really analyze their data, pull that out of their practice management system, and really analyze how are these patients producing for the offices. And frankly, really wanted to see, okay, we're at a bit of an inflection point with Kleer. Is what we're doing actually adding value for our clients? And if it's not, then we really need to do something and fix that, right? And it is pretty remarkable how consistent the results were, regardless of the market that you're in and the kind of practice or group that you have. Whether you are in that doctor-owned and led office or emerging group, we're looking to be, say, more fee-for-service, less PPO, up to your larger, more PPO-driven kind of outfit. That membership plan patient really behaves the same across the board. They visit 2 to 3 times more often than they do as an uninsured patient with no plan at all, and they generate more than twice the amount of production. And that often then also extends into the comparison to the insured patients as well, for some of those reasons that we said before. So we took those metrics that we learned from those offices, and through time, as we've continued to grow and scale, we've consistently been working with some larger groups to pull some ROI and understand, again, is what we're doing still working? And the answer is yes, every single time. And again, it is remarkable how consistent that 2 to 3x increase is across the board.
So this is a question that I really just kind of thought of as we've been working with Kleer for quite a while. Economy's a little bit different this year, right? We have inflation. We've got all sorts of things going on that, maybe patients don't have the money that they once did. Talk to me a little bit about the impact of membership plans in an economy like this for the patient and then also for the practice.
Hmm. For sure. I mean, obviously, these days, almost everything is a dollars and cents decision. I mean, I guess you could probably say that about anything in life, right? For many things, but especially now. And especially for the patients who need oral care, but perhaps don't necessarily have the financial means out of pocket to get it. So having options in the office to enable more affordability is always important, but again, especially right now. And the solution for a lot of groups and practices has always typically been, if I don't have an in-house plan, well, we'll get them on a payment plan, right? Or we'll use a third-party financing solution so that they can get this treatment done. And that's okay for that one procedure, right? But I often kind of liken third-party things like that to an extent. It's almost like a Band-Aid, right? Where we'll get that one treatment done, but then we'll just kind of hope that you return. We know that you're financially perhaps in a different position than you'd like to be. So we're going to hope you come back, say for your hygiene, your perio. And when you do, we'll maybe give you a deal back at that point. So what we're really encouraging our offices and groups now to do is to get that membership plan in front of as many patients as you can, because really it is the best value for the patient, because economy or not, inflation or not, you got to get your teeth taken care of no matter what, right? So having that membership plan as front and center of your practice, what's nice about how we build the plans is it's not just, hey, you're going to pay some money and get some discounts. We actually show the patients what exactly you're going to get benefit-wise, what are you going to pay, and what is the dollar savings you're going to enjoy by enrolling in this membership. And then we equip the teams with the materials and the best practices to present that accordingly. So it is so important now to have it in the office in general, but equally as important to be able to educate the patients. And we get feedback all the time from our groups, how much the patients appreciate that the practices are out there looking out for them, right? And especially for their wallet. So especially now and for the foreseeable future, that is only going to become more and more important.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about the tech side of things. Let's talk about some automation capabilities and even the customization, because you mentioned it earlier. You've got DPOs, you have DSOs. Everybody does things a little bit differently. So talk to me about, how can one group customize what you offer, whether it's from a patient perspective or whether it's the way the group does business, and then what can be automated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the questions I think that I get all the time is, well, what am I going to do if a patient wants to sign up for the Kleer plan? Who do I send them to? Right? Or, how can they find the Kleer plan? Well, this is your plan, right? So the one thing that you as the group, emerging group, office, whatever it is, the one thing that I always try and emphasize is that when we think about customization, utilization of this plan, it is an extension of your providers, right? Or it's an extension of your values or your philosophy as that DSO or DPO who is really trying to optimize and elevate the experience of the practitioner. These plans are extensions of you, right? They're yours. So from a customization perspective, there's a number of things that we can do, whether it's from different pricing options, different sorts of benefit structures, different kinds of plan names or branding or things of that nature. We have groups that are in many different states across the country. We can have, Florida is not Iowa, is not Texas, right? So we can have different pricing by state, by region, really whatever it is that you want to do. Our goal is to put your doctors, wherever they're located, in a position to make this an easy conversation for the consumer, for the patient. And a lot of that comes down to, how does it look to that patient? What's the cost? How is the team able to present it? So customization wise, we can do a lot on that front, building these plans for the groups. And then automation wise, all your standard questions that you're going to have from an office manager. Well, who's going to collect the payment? Who's going to renew that patient at the end of the year? How do I know when a patient signs up? What if somebody missed a payment? Who goes and gets that? We're going to automate, or we do automate all of those processes already for you. What's really exciting, though, is what's kind of coming with Kleer, and I think we'll probably get to it at some point in this conversation, but there is so much more to do on the automation space. Going all the way back to your first question, teams are spread thin. How can we streamline processes even more? So things like benefit utilization, automated marketing campaigns, automated ROI reports. All of these are things that we're currently building into our platforms that, again, we can just continue to elevate this and add that value. So your payments, your renewals, enrollments, already automated. That's going to be great to have, but there's so much more to come on that front as well.
So on the customization side of things, we could have, especially somebody that might have 10 different practice locations, maybe 10 different, customer bases, right? One may be in more of an urban setting, one may be more in a rural setting. Price point may be different, right? Depending on where they are in a certain area. So you can pretty much customize all that. And I think it's a great point that, it's not the Kleer plan, right? It's the practice plan. It's not even the DSO plan, right? Because it can be customized by practice location.
Exactly. And that's such a good point too, because especially now, one of the things that we're seeing more and more of is groups want their doctors to have a little bit more autonomy with these plans in particular. So we might have 10 different offices, but 10 different doctors who do business a little bit differently, right? So maybe one doctor is really heavy on implants and another doctor is big on cosmetic. It might not make sense for them to have the same pricing and discounts. And we want to empower the dentist to be able to make those decisions on their own. So we have that infrastructure in place, obviously, to help manage it, but then we have the data behind it to make recommendations for both those providers, even though they have different approaches under the same group umbrella. So it's a great point too. That absolutely falls into that customization realm too as well.
So let's talk about the reporting, because all DSOs and emerging groups want to be able to kind of take a look at things and evaluate and make adjustments if need be, and really measure performance. So talk to me about accessing each location, the metrics, the reporting, and ways that you've seen groups really take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So the nice thing, with Kleer and with our platform in general, and I mentioned at the start of this, we've really kind of invested in our groups, but everything ultimately trickles down to your individual office manager. So when we think about the wider platform here and the reporting and the visibility, what's nice is that reporting can get you that single office manager in that one office. That individual can see exactly what they need to on the payment side, the member enrollment side, the renewal and retention side, right there in their individual dashboard. They can run that every single day. The payments are done in real time, retention and renewals are automated. That individual office manager for their practice, they've got everything they need right there on the dashboard. Now we can scale that up to the regional manager. They can look at the same kind of information across their region. Go to the director of operations for a state, same thing. Look at the entire operation from a CFO or controller perspective. You can go to one spot inside of our platform and see every single office that is on there, segmented by region or state, whatever it is, and drill down however much that you want. One of the big requests that we got early on, we had our first major group one a few years ago, was, well, I want to be able to not only look at my individual offices, but I want to be able to roll it up, all the data and the reporting to the entire group level, but still have that individual granular capability. You can do that with Kleer, where once a quarter, once a day, if you want, you can go ahead. I want to see what kind of payments came through in the state of Utah today, right? Or in Florida, or how's that region in, Western North Carolina doing? You can run those reports and see those kinds of metrics inside the dashboard in real time, and give those permissions to whomever you need to, controller, CFO, COO, CEO. You can all have that sort of reporting at your fingertips. And again, the speed of it is critical as well. We're not just dumping, a lot of money into your bank account at the end of the year and then giving you one report. You can get access to that information whenever you need to, so you can really have eyes on it at whatever cadence is your preference.
Oh, that's great. So you alluded to this earlier. It sounds like you're working on some things in the automation and the integration realm. So talk to me about what you can talk to us about, because again, things move so quickly in this space, and technology in particular. What is it that Kleer's working on? Is this feedback that you've had from groups that you're working with, or just something that you've developed because it's what should be done?
Really all the above, to be honest with you, Bill. I mean, integration with practice management softwares is something that, from our very first client to the brand new ones that jump on board right now, that's one of the questions that we always get. Whether it's Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental, of course, those softwares are the foundation of the dental practice in their business. So being able to integrate, every software vendor out there in dental is looking to try to be able to do that. Some can do it, others cannot. In the membership plan space, it's been essentially priority number one for any company that offers membership plans. What's really nice about Kleer and what's coming with us is that this integration, this search to be able to figure out how to do that, we now have that solution in place for just about every single practice management system that is out there. It's been about 3 years in the making because we've recognized how important it is, but that is now going to be our next major product release. Now, integration means a number of different things to a lot of different people, right? So in our view, our integration suite is always going to be circling back to that mission that we have of really trying to liberate and empower dentists to take better control of the business, right? That starts with, again, further automation for your team, right? So for example, automatically posting payments to patient ledgers, automatically showing benefit utilization and doing automated marketing, things of that nature. That is going to be coming with this integration that we're calling Kleer Intelligence. But then it goes further than that, right? Being able to actually identify, I mentioned those ROI analytics that earlier on in the conversation here, where we pulled that data from practices and got that 2.1 or 2 to 3x increase and verified that. Wouldn't it be great if you could just automate it, right? Every quarter you could go to one region, run a report, and see how your offices are doing. You're going to be able to do that to see not just the impact of Kleer, but the impact of your insurances and your cash patients, who's producing what and what are you collecting? And then are there actionable steps that you can take as a group owner or a CFO or operations professional to try and improve? So integration to us is going to include all of these different things. It's all going to be under this umbrella called Kleer Intelligence. But the great thing too is that this is not really things that we're just hoping to do, right? We pretty much have the solutions already. We're just building the product. So the first releases are going to be happening very, very soon. We have a CTO with a PhD in machine learning and about a dozen engineers underneath him. So we're very, very confident in his algorithms and his experience building and scaling large-scale data infrastructure. So we're very, very confident, but extremely excited about it because it's about 4 years in the making.
Yeah, that is seems to be on. Everybody wants that integration, right? And I was going to ask you the question, but I didn't have to. You just said, what does integration really mean? Because it means different things to different people.
Yeah,
pretty cool stuff. Well, that's great. We'll look forward to that. Beyond automation, integration, things like that. As an organization, I mean, how do you differ? There are some other membership plan companies out there. I mean, why does Kleer stand out among some of the others? Besides that technology piece?
Yeah, I would say one of the really interesting or unique things about us is kind of just our background as a company in terms of who is, kind of pulling the strings over here, right? I mean, Bill, our CEO, Dave, our sales and marketing head, Ed Kane, our team. We're really kind of unique in this space in that we do come from so many different backgrounds. Our CEO is an engineer, worked for Microsoft for many years, has a lot of experience on the technology side and just building impactful companies for businesses. I mentioned our CTO, but that comes all the way down to our director of customer success, to marketing, to our sales team. The people that work here at Kleer is a major differentiator because really it's enabled us how we work together and our focus on the clients. It's enabled us to have as much of the market share that we do. More groups and emerging groups and any independent practices come to work with Kleer. The technology, the automation, that's great, right? To your point, and it's super reliable with Kleer, but being able to automate a payment or a renewal is not necessarily a unique thing, right? Other companies out there will be able to do the same. But what is unique about Kleer is that we are so focused on our clients because we have the data behind what we're doing that says that it's working. So we are passionate about giving our clients the ability to see those results and putting them in a position to do so. And we have the size and the resources and really the experience and the vision to do that, right? And that is a really unique thing. In any kind of business like this, where there's a lot of different competitors kind of vying for the same kind of client group, and there's a lot of similarities between the products, really what's going to separate one from the other is the experience and leadership behind it and the vision in front of it. And that is really what's going to differentiate Kleer, especially on this integration side. Again, it's 2, 3, 4 years in the making. We are very, very excited and confident that it's going to be a very unique thing in the market, but it all comes back to our people.
That's great. I mean, one thing I would like to ask, because just kind of wrap this up here, is talk to me a little bit about like the educational component. And the reason I bring it up is, first off, you have that education background, which I find is actually, very beneficial. So as we start to wrap this up, Dan, I just, you mentioned your background, you graduated with a degree in education, right? And I kind of find that important because first question we really brought up, which was, you've got all this change, right? So you may have new office managers coming in. Can you talk to me a little bit about, what type of education you provide to get the office managers comfortable with the product, and maybe the clinicians as well? Because I think that's important, almost as important as the product itself. Is, do I feel comfortable with this? Do I know how to use it? When somebody new comes in, how long does it take to get used to something and get comfortable?
100%. And I think that this piece in particular is, again, the product aside, this is equally, if not more important, right? Because ultimately, the boots on the ground that are going to be giving this to the patients is the team. It's the clinicians. We don't have brokers going out there, knocking on patient doors trying to sell them membership plans, right? So these plans, again, need to be extensions of the providers and of the teams. But the one thing that we really don't want the teams to feel like they're doing is selling anything, right? It's not a sale to the patient, because there's obviously a certain connotation to that just doesn't align with the care we're trying to provide. So the biggest thing, I'm so happy you used that word education, because really what we want to do is equip dental offices, whoever's in there, to really promote understanding to the patient about not only why is my oral health really important, right? Because remember, who's typically using these plans are perhaps retirees or folks that have neglected their dental care for a long time because they don't have insurance. Why is my oral health important? And why is it important for me to spend this money to buy this plan to prevent other things, right? So we put a huge focus on preparing the teams to have those conversations. There's, all kinds of, assets that we'll give to teams. You'll get info sheets and brochures and different kinds of marketing collateral. That's all great. But really what we spend time with is, okay, let's get the plans built. Let's launch the product. But then myself and the rest of our group team will really spend time engaging individual offices and regions and say, listen, here's the kind of patient that you're going to be talking to. Here are some of the questions that you might encounter. Here is the best way we want to try and promote that understanding. And here are perhaps some things that you want to avoid. So that is one of the other really critical pieces of what differentiates us, is that we have the experience to make those recommendations, right? We've got some 7,000 or so dentists that we work with in any kind of market that you can imagine. So we certainly know what works, and we certainly know what doesn't. So our goal is, let's get the teams to be able to promote that understanding. And it's a major, major focus in the early part of the launch, is getting that education down pat.
Well, Dan, if somebody that's listening to this is interested in finding out more, how would you suggest do they reach directly out to you? Is there some place on your website? Tell us about that, because I know there's going to be some folks that are going to want to find out more.
Sure. So I am always happy to speak to anybody about this who's interested. So you can certainly contact me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn. My email is very simple. It's just Dan, D-A-N, @KLEER.com. That's Dan @Kleer.com. And as with most of us, I'm always on my email. So any questions, want to have a chat, learn a little bit more, continue the conversation, don't hesitate to reach out to me directly.
That's great. And we'll put Dan's email address in the show notes, so you'll be able to just click right on that and reach out to him, and he'll be your first point of contact for sure. But thanks for giving us the update on what's going on at Kleer. I think it's exciting times, and particularly a time right now where a membership plan is really needed. So if you're not using one, or you have an in-house plan that maybe isn't working the way you think it should, or maybe you don't even know how it's working, right? To your point, you don't even know how many people have insurance or are using the plan. Probably it's a good opportunity to reach out to Dan at Kleer and find out what he and his team can do for you. So that's it. I appreciate your time, Dan Crawford from Kleer. And as always, thanks everybody for watching us on YouTube or listening in. Until next time, this is Bill Newman from the Group Dentistry Now Show. Thanks again.
The Group Dentistry Now Show has listeners across North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. If you like our show, subscribe today, and please tell your colleagues about us.